Good morning, everyone. When beloved brothers and sisters from ONE invited me to speak about this topic, I thought long and hard about how do I present it as a gift from Jesus for each one of you. So I felt that it is best to share from my soul how this discovery of being a universal Catholic has changed my life, and find a way to present a practical framework despite the ups and downs. What a beautiful privilege it is to be a Catholic in a complex world. Also, what an advantage it brings in terms of evangelization. So, I understand the word Catholic, even though we all know it, may mean different things to each one of us. So what I'm going to do is to walk us through what I call the 3 I's framework: identity, instrument, and interconnectedness. We probably do not remember our baptismal experience as a baby. But if you happen to, let me know and also how. And maybe at times we might wonder why we are even Catholic. I was born in the devout Catholic family, so my childhood books were the stories of the saints. Through the stories, I felt that being Catholic meant being part of a worldwide family. I just didn't know how big. My first sense of how big the Catholic family in Singapore was in 1986, when 50,000 of us packed into the National Stadium to celebrate Mass when Pope John Paul II came. We were soaked, sitting on wet benches, and yet the joy of being one large family left a deep impression on me. But still, that was it. I felt that being Catholic meant being part of a big family, but nothing else. I did not know what it meant for me, what it will do for my life. I just thought that so long as I'm a good Catholic boy who serves in church, that was enough. I was active in the parish of St. Anthony since I was a young boy. At that time, it was a small community church in Mandai, next to the zoo. We were a close-knit group of about probably 1,000 parishioners. Everyone knew one another, and it was paradise on earth for me. So everything until that point was really lovely for me, faith-wise. Or should I say safe, because I was really active in church and a great parish community. So technically, it was Catholic enough for me. In 1990, an international lay Catholic movement, invited by my parish priest, Father Chong, came to St. Anthony. They called themselves Focolare, meaning fireplace. They shared their mission was to bring about a united world, inspired by the final prayer of Jesus in John 17:21, "May they all be one." They often shared their personal experiences of living the gospel, which I thought was nice, but not too extraordinary because it was something that we as good Catholics were already trying to live in the parish. Then in 1992, our Focolare friends invited some of us teenagers in the parish to an international meeting in Rome. I was 14 years old then, so you can imagine. And that year was my confirmation year. Since I've never traveled that far in my life, I jumped at the chance. I thought, like any Catholic event I've been so far, the setting would be simple or casual. So I was not prepared for what I was about to experience. There were over 9,000 teenagers from all over the world, and there were 36 languages available for translation. There were Africans, Latin Americans, Asians, Europeans. For those of us who came from the furthest outside of Europe, we get to attend some special events. One of these events shocked me. We were led to attend a press conference. And at this press conference with the national journalist of Italy, the entire press conference was held by teenagers from Europe with no adult supervision. They explained the intent of the international meeting of teenagers, how they are going to shape the united world. They then went on to share their experiences about living the gospel and how they have initiatives in different cities to build peace, understanding, inspired by the Bible. I was listening to the translation. I couldn't believe my ears. Here, these kids are about the same age as I am, 14, 15. They are changing their cities through the gospel and saying openly how Jesus has inspired them to forgive, be the first to love. I remember telling my friend Anthony, I want this version of the Catholic faith, courageous and modern. It's like suddenly you discover your iOS is old. Then you upgrade. Suddenly it's a different iOS, even better with features. You say, hey, where was this iOS? How come I never had it before? Then, when it came to the international meeting, it was done in the modern concert style. Songs, dances, and satellite broadcasts to 50 cities around the world. And again, different teenagers from Latin America, US, Canada, Africa, Asia shared concrete acts of love, inspired by the gospel. These youth were not simply telling you what a good Catholic they are. They are sharing small but concrete projects which they have launched in their countries to build peace, fight racism, promote sharing of goods. Seeing this was a light bulb moment for me, because until then, I did not know this version of Catholicism. So impactful, so courageous, and so new. My version of Catholicism until then was slow music, peace and quiet. Here is a revolution, right? That young people can change the world through a gospel that's still relevant now, right? And after this international meeting concert, there is this 5 days of formation school, something like a catechism of sorts for teenagers from outside of Europe. So we went to this beautiful meeting place next to the summer palace of the Pope. And as I expected, when you have many young people, they want to play, they have fun. But I remember I was totally shaken with what I've experienced the days before. I saw a new vision that I never thought I would see, that the Catholic faith is beyond the walls of the church. So a lot of questions were floating in my head. During the school, what helped was they brought in people of different vocations: judges, politicians, lawyers, economists, priests. These people did not preach to us. They shared their life stories, and again, how they are changing the world in their own environments. One judge shared that even though her life was threatened by the mafia, she decided to stand up for justice, love her enemy, and she survived. And more importantly, they spoke to us like adults, not as kids. And sometimes we tend to do like, oh, you don't understand, but they didn't say any of it. They just talked to us as if we were the same age as them, right? And I can imagine it was not easy to speak to a crowd of young teenagers. And quite a few was fidgety, but I was totally mesmerized by their experiences and thoughts. In one talk, when a female economist spoke about the idea of an economy of God, how God seeks to bring about a new way of the economy through mutual love and communion of goods, I thought to myself, this is what I would like to contribute to: real, substantive solutions in society through the gospel. I remember clearly as I thought about this, another boy from Colombia was kicking my chair. And I got angry and I scolded him, because I really wanted to remain in that moment, not losing any words, because I was hearing something groundbreaking. At one point, the organizers shared about the idea of Jesus forsaken on the cross, and that if we want to bring about a united world, we can consider consecrating ourselves to Him, who can give us the grace and the light to bring about the united world, even in difficult and dire moments. They allowed us to do this at our own pace. We have daily Mass, and during each Mass, youth from different countries will sing at the Mass. And you have to know, by then, I've been an altar boy for some years, right? So I'm very particular about liturgy. And the liturgy at that moment was very simple. But somehow in that Mass, that simple Mass, celebrated by young priests, with songs that switch from one moment in Swahili, then to Thai, then Italian, I wanted this vision of the Catholic faith that is being part of this global family, that is alive and new so much. I said yes there and then. So I went to this chapel with my friend and brother, and we asked Jesus for Singapore to be alight with fire, the fire of the gospel. But I did not know how life would turn out for me. But I realized a great seed has been planted. My eyes have been opened. I always want to see this vision, the universal church through His people. To this day, I consider that moment in 1992, my baptism in the faith. That God helped me realize what impact we can shape when we realize the gift of being Catholic. Over time, I'm grateful that in my day job, as a strategist serving in an innovation by design firm, God has given me many opportunities to serve the church. My business partners are not Catholics, but they support my volunteer work and even contribute in pragmatic ways by agreeing that the company sponsors a number of these initiatives, also because they are scared, I may leave. So they felt the best way to keep me is to let me do what I like to do, right? And also, they found that the Catholic social teaching, which I shared at times, to be useful and relevant in our work to impact a better world. With these experiences over the years, whether I was serving a Catholic organization or in the interfaith and ecumenical sphere, one thing is certain. There are unique capabilities that being a Catholic and being part of a global religious organization like our church. And I want to be very specific about these aspects so that it can be useful to you. So I think it's important to clarify, what does it mean to be a Catholic, especially in our times? In particular, in this moment of COVID-19, when a whole host of existential issues have been thrown up, from inequality, a breakdown in global institutions, growing debates on values. At the same time, technology has doubled its pace of disruption from artificial intelligence to the new space race. It's an era of complex and rapid shifts. So one thing we need to ask is, what kind of religion does Catholicism seek to be? Is it just about morality, or is it meant to change the world? In the church, there is this practice at every major church council or meetings of bishops, which is very useful to guide conversations. It is called an instrumentum laboris, which means a working instrument or an operating consensus. So what would be the closest to an instrumentum laboris in the Bible, where Jesus had offered a vision to the world? We find this in the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes is a groundbreaking code because it's more than just a moral code. It calls for extraordinary goodness. It went against the thinking of its times because, for example, the rich in those days were thought to be more blessed. But Jesus said, "Blessed are the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And the Beatitude is not a moral code based on reciprocity in what is commonly known as the Golden Rule. Jesus, through his disciples, called for a new way of living based on a new vision for a new world. And there was this expectation that Jesus would lead a revolution through armed struggle. But in his example, again, he led his call for change in an extraordinary way. So he set a very high bar for his followers, that more than just being a good citizen, a Catholic cannot remain unmoved and focus on himself or herself, that a follower of Jesus must always be in tune what is going on in society, to be a peacemaker, to be merciful, to care for the poor and the hungry. In short, the Catholic faith is not about forming good and moral persons, but about shaping a new humanity in the vision of God. Which is why, on so many fronts, the Church, through the popes, must convey its concern and share its vision to direct the entire Church and humanity to work for the common good, whether it's fighting climate change, the rights of workers, or take the aspect of interfaith dialogue to new levels. It is in our DNA as Catholics to follow Jesus to change the world and make it closer to the vision of God and his intents. COVID-19 has also thrown up another interesting issue, the role of religion in a person's life, since so many have gone digital. In fact, some leaders have suggested that religion is a private practice. So do you think it is possible to practice our Catholic faith alone? One humbling thing I realized as I gave my time to get involved in Catholic 200 SG is that our faith is not sustained by our own effort, but by others. It is another person's courage who dare to travel the treacherous seas to bring the faith to our shores. When we are down, it is the faith of faraway saints who inspire us to examine ourselves. When we are in need of knowledge, it was that catechist, who is not our relative, who spent time to prepare classes to teach us. And when we need communion, it is our priest who, despite being overwhelmed at times, having given their entire lives, at times were misunderstood, who continue to rise each day to celebrate Mass for us. In short, Catholicism is an interdependent religion. It's not a faith where you can go off, pray to God on your own. It is about collective sanctity. Again, in the early church, even before we have the ability to build physical churches, the early Christians were a transient group moving to different locations. But what distinguished them? what made them attractive was how one of the first signs of being a Christian is to put your possessions in common for the community. And this radical love for each other was why people nicknamed them Christians, the followers of Jesus, the loving people. So many conversion stories from the early days, whether it's the Roman soldier, whether it's the women who encountered this faith, it was this encounter with an extraordinary human behavior, this community of love, this putting things in common to share. So it's quite fascinating if you compare the founders of major religions in the world. Jesus lived the shortest, and he also traveled the least, choosing instead to spend time with a few of his disciples and in dialogue with people. Even the highest form of worship for Christianity is the communal meal. It makes you wonder, right? Hey, wouldn't it be better if Jesus had gone straight to Rome and converted Caesar? But no, Jesus spent a great amount of time with a small group of people. In fact, till today, many historians who try to disprove whether Jesus rose from the dead could not find a reason to explain why his disciples not only did not disperse, but continued to spread the name of Jesus, a convicted criminal on record, and gave their lives. So in short, being a community, not just a club, but an active, life-giving community is an immutable law of being a Catholic, a follower of Jesus. A lone Catholic is fundamentally contrarian to the principles of the faith. Then, of course, in this world where secularism is on the relentless push, sometimes it seems inevitable. What should we do? What is our best form of witness to evangelize a generation that's cynical, feeling lost and lonely? Here are a few points that has helped me, and they can be helpful for you to consider too. If Jesus is not real, and Christianity is not impactful, why are there still 300 million Christians under state or institutional persecution? Why are people so afraid of the non-violent message of Jesus? In business, only a fiat competitor will be challenged. If a competitor is failing, why bother? Let him die, right? Then if Catholicism is not important, why focus so much energy on trying to point out its decline? Or even force its institutions to adapt to the world? Sometimes what a person fears or hates also reveals how powerful the idea truly is. By the way, globally, the church is still on a growth track. From the latest report, we are now 1.34 billion Catholics. It's a marked increase of 16 million Catholics. What 16 million is equivalent to a nation, okay? And many times more than Singapore. A 1.12 increase compared to 2018, while the world population grew by 1%. Yeah? So we are actually ahead of global growth. And in the latest census in Singapore, our Singapore population has continued to register growth. Compared to the 2015 census, the Catholic Church here has registered 10% growth in numbers. And this is just on the numbers of citizens and PRs alone. We went from 221,000 to 242,681 who are Catholics. So, our decline in actual terms is not happening yet. Don't start celebrating our decline. Instead, celebrate our continued rise. So lastly, what is the ultimate proof that God is real? That Jesus has promised to be with us till the end. Look no further than the Catholic Church itself. If you're familiar with the field of religions, in the world of religions, it's really a world of diverse and tense debates of views, So it's physically, mentally hard to have a global structure like that of the Catholic Church. Many religions would like to have such a structure, but it's impossible. Just to give you a practical example. At the Vatican, we have global offices for human development or interfaith dialogue. There is no such equivalent in other religions. Most of what we have are religious alliances. And these alliances, they are not governing bodies. They cannot mandate their members to follow its guidelines. At the same time, our church is so diverse, obviously with many failings too. And yet, despite its diversity and failings, it holds well together. If you are a person who don't believe in God, right, just studying the structure of the Catholic Church in itself will be a fascinating and inspiring study. I always like to tell this fun fact to non-Catholics. The Pope does not pay the salaries of the world's 5,600 bishops. Some actually have more financial resources than the Holy Father. Large religious congregations again. These congregations raise funds and manage on their own. Many of them own large tracts of land and capabilities. Yet, these bishops and religious congregations will submit themselves to the Pope in Rome. There's no human logic in all of management thinking to explain how the Catholic Church can operate like this except faith. Every single day, so long as the Roman Catholic Church exists in its diverse, varied form and continue to outlast regimes, empires, communism and all, the words of Jesus are true. And I say to thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. The other thing you need to know is many regimes in persecuting the church are actually comfortable to allow the local church to continue to worship Jesus, They don't have a problem with that actually. Yeah, pray in Latin, pray whatever language you want. The only thing they want is to ask the local church to renounce the Pope. This happened in China and in so many countries. But in each of these cases, the bishops and priests on their own send letters through friends and various means to Rome to make private declarations of loyalty to the Holy Father. So this is another important fact, that our unbreakable bond, forged through the Eucharist, binds us as one church, also through the Pope. Another reason why the regimes are so afraid of the Holy Father and Holy See, even though the Pope has no armies, is because there's no way to politically subvert the church, as the Holy See is a sovereign nation too. Governments who are not happy with the Vatican cannot, for example, tell Italy to discipline the Vatican. So this independence is precious and unique again. It allows us to operate globally, regionally, and locally. So our weakness is amplified. The more universal we are in terms of outlook, appreciating our vast network and resources. It's like right now, as we speak, someone is celebrating the Eucharist, someone is praying. We need to be aware that we are part of this infinite continuum of faith. I felt this deeply when I was in World Youth Day 2000 with 1.2 million other youth. And so, whenever we feel alone, we can call on all the faithful on earth and in heaven to be with us. So back to the concept of the three I's. How can you apply this? In identity, are you projecting the impression of being a lone Catholic or reaching out as a universal Catholic, always open to connect with fellow Catholics? Then in instrument, are you aware of the various documents in the church regarding COVID-19, climate change, and the latest being the synodal process where the Holy Father has invited the entire church to participate and discern in a global church direction? And about interconnectedness, are you aware of the struggles of another parish beyond your own? How about the suffering of other Catholics in the region? Are you praying or helping them? Are you aware of the networks that you can connect with to serve in a universal way? Beyond your parish, are you aware of the diocesan offices, regional or international Catholic organizations? The key to begin this new evangelization, which is something that His Grace has often asked us to do time and again, to be a more vibrant evangelizing and missionary church, is this. It starts with us seeing the faith anew in a universal way. Because of Jesus' example, it calls us to be brave, to shape a new world in His image and likeness. And then the final and most difficult part is not to do this alone, to have the patience to forgive, the humility to learn from other Catholics, the grace to see that the unity of the church is such a great gift of witness, so that when our friends in Singapore see us, they are attracted to an extraordinary form of family, something that Singaporeans who are alone, tired, and cynical can connect with. And hopefully, upon encountering any Catholic gathering, seeing how diverse we are, they too will say, see how they love one another. Thank you.